Hello, Madeline with Cuddlist here. So today I want to talk about fear. I've been doing a lot of educating myself about fear, both from the personal experience of it, being with my fear a lot, being very observant of it, and also studying and learning about trauma and what I notice with my clients, with practitioners. And so it's a big topic, but I'm going to try to sum up some of the highlights of it here. So first of all, Franklin Roosevelt famously said that the only thing we have to fear is fear itself. And there's a lot of truth in this. Being afraid is scary. And it happens. And part of what's so scary, I think, about it is that it's out of our control, right? And so when we're feeling afraid, we try to control it. There's a lot of things that happen when we're afraid that compound it, that make it worse. And the neurobiology, the science around trauma, the nervous system, the biochemistry, the endocrine system, the primitive brain, all of these things that are happening in our bodies, which evolved thousands of years ago for an environment that is very different than the environment we're living in today. So first of all, the understanding that fear happens, and it doesn't mean that we're in danger. It doesn't mean that there's something wrong with us. It doesn't mean that we're weak or that we shouldn't be feeling it. These are a lot of the things that happen. It doesn't mean that the world is a dangerous, scary place, that I'm alone. But a lot of these things will happen as a result of feeling afraid below our level of awareness. And I think that's important too, to understand. So let me slow down a little bit. When we're afraid of fear, which, again, is understandable, but when we're afraid, first of all, understanding that fear is something physiologically that happens in our nervous system, below our level of awareness. So something can happen that's startling, a startling noise, doesn't mean necessarily something is wrong, or we can, get some information about our finances, or a friend can tell us that they're not happy with something we did, and suddenly our body is flooded with a change in our circulation, dilation, a change in our breathing, the sensation in our body changes. There is an impulse to fight, to attack, to defend ourselves, to say something, to justify ourselves. There's to flee, to run away, to avoid, to procrastinate, to shut down, to freeze. Sometimes our thinking gets foggy. We don't quite know what to do, and that's even scarier. We start kind of checking out or operating in ways, forgetting things and not being disoriented. There's also an impulse to appease, maybe to please or go along with something that we really don't want to do. And all of this very, very naturally happens without choice, without conscious choice or awareness, in large part because of physiologically what's happening in our body. And that is triggered and set off by things that are not necessarily dangerous, right? But it is the effect that it's having on us that compounds that danger or creates circumstances that don't feel good. So it's really helpful for me, one, just to understand that. And I hope it helps you to kind of hear that from someone outside. Like, these things are common. It doesn't mean you have to be diagnosed with PTSD. It doesn't mean that you have to have had, some horrible childhood or anything like that. That this is part of the human body living in an environment that it wasn't designed for and adapting the best it can, trying to protect us the best it can through instinct, which we don't have a lot of choice about. And that some of the thoughts, when we don't understand that, the thoughts that happen is, oh, I shouldn't be feeling afraid, that something's wrong with me, that I am. And that can create shame, which has a whole bunch of other effects. It's like this domino effect. Or I'm in danger, and then we start acting and treating the world around us and our friends and our family like a threat, which again has a whole bunch of domino effects. Or that the world is a dangerous place and I'm not safe here. And one of the effects of that is loneliness. It's perceived isolation. And you can feel lonely in a room full of people, or you can feel lonely when you're alone. But that can be a result of these unconscious thoughts that there's danger and that I'm not safe here, when it's not actually true. But because of these things that are happening in our body. Another thing that happens very commonly is what's called dissociation, not even being present to the fact that we're afraid. And that's an experience of being checked out from our body, right? Not really fully being in our experience, being kind of in our head, either in the past or in the future, not being present. And that creates a sense of loneliness too, just a sense of numbness and dissatisfaction with life. We're not connected or participating and feeling alive, feeling fully alive. So again, remembering that this is our nervous system, and this is something that we're all dealing with as humans. So what can I do about being with my fear? And is a combination of what I've been practicing and learning, and I'll offer this, I offer it to clients, to trainees. The first thing is really noticing that I'm afraid. Or simply, and sometimes that can start not just with thinking I'm afraid, but really noticing like, oh, my breathing has changed. There's a sensation in my body. I'm feeling tingly. There's a tightness in my chest. What am I noticing? I have just an agitated, restless feeling. Why am I doing that? Or my thinking is getting foggy. Naming these things and noticing it, stopping, taking a moment to really be curious and observe. And this is mindfulness, really is another buzzword for this. But it's just anything you can have. You can do this any moment, any time. When you notice yourself feeling uncomfortable, is like, oh, I notice I'm feeling uncomfortable. What does that feel like? Where do I feel it in my body? There's a tightness in my neck. How far does it go? I don't know, what color might it be? What is the experience of this? Where else in my body am I feeling that? And then if you're feeling discomfort, where in my body am I not feeling tense? Where am I feeling relaxed? So take a moment to observe, collect some data. The next thing you can do is breathe. That sounds simple, but be with it and take some deep breaths, some awareness. And just notice how the breathing changes it, if it does or not. But give yourself a little extra oxygen. And breathing can also, the noticing and the breathing shortcuts some of the behavior that comes from it that makes it worse. So breathe. And then consciously allow the experience to be happening. Allow the fact that, okay, this is happening. It is, and I'm not going to try to fix it. I'm not going to judge it. I'm not going to run away from it. As long as you can, just be in that like, okay, my body is doing this thing, and I'm going to let go of some of those impulses and simply be with it. And this is the idea of detaching from a lot of the impulses to fight or flight or freeze, to check out, to make up stories about it, to try to figure it out. Detaching from that, but not leaving ourselves. Staying present with ourselves and being with it. And that's a tricky thing for me. But it's worth doing. Because what I notice is even when I can do that a little bit, that I become more resilient. And I become less reactive. And there's less fear. And even if you can do that for a few minutes a day, it helps. So that's my encouragement to myself and to all of us today, is to cultivate our ability to be with fear, to accept it, to acknowledge it, to not be so afraid of our fear, and to find healthy ways to be with it. I believe that that makes our inner world and the outer world a better place.